Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'll give everybody just a couple minutes to pop in for the live, but we're going to be doing live tarot readings this evening. If you guys check out the QR code right up here, it'll allow you to get a reading. Okay, so you can scan that. It'll take you to my PayPal. We're going to be doing readings for $20 donation for 1 card and $40 donation for 3 cards. Make sure that you put your question in the memo box, please. And a big happy, I guess, beginning of the weekend. Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your time off. Those of you guys who are getting a break. What's up, Nancy? What's going on? I got you. Just let me know when you're ready, when you're popping in. We got 2 Nancys here. So Nancy S, when you're free, let me know. Thanks, Nancy. I got your question. What's up, Gabby? She finally made it. Rachel's here. S is here. Hey, Rosie. David's in the stream. How's everybody doing? You guys hearing about like all this crazy weather going on in the world? I just got done talking to family in LA. They're like, yeah, there's a hurricane coming. Crazy town. Well, thank you for your support, S. What's up, LZ? I've got a long list of people who are already waiting. So is there any level 3 people here? If you guys aren't aware, I have memberships on my channel. So if you like my content and you want to support me, you can. If you would like to support my channel, we've got memberships so you can get in level 3 support, get a shout out, and you get a reading once a month. We always take the level 3 people first. But there's 2 other levels too if you want to consider supporting my work. What's up, Sasha? What's up, Sonia? How's everybody doing? So I've got, for level 3, Nancy's here. She's still working. She's going to let me know when she's free. We've also got Katie, Melissa, Matt, Ashley, Rachel, Tiara, other Nancy, and other Rachel. So I think we got 2 Rachels in here. Rachel S and Rachel P. So we got a couple double names, so I'll read out your question when I do the reading. And if you guys want to donate, you can via PayPal or through the super chat. Rachel's in for 2. I saw your 2 questions. Thank you. All right, well, let's get into it. We're going to start. I'll give you guys a heads up when your reading is coming through. And we'll leave the queue open for a little bit. We'll leave it open for like a half an hour or whatever until we get a couple more people who pop in. So we're going to start first with Katie. Katie, Melissa, and Matt. You guys are going to be the first people that I'm going to be taking for readings today. Let's see what Katie says. There we go. She wants a 3-card reading. Katie says, hey Candace, the post-moon fallout was strong for me. Very much felt like an eclipse energy you predicted. Chiron at 22 Leo and the moon at 24 Leo. 3rd house were both activated, triggered an emotional response, invoking childhood pain and wounding. Though interesting, it involved my partner's father and not his or my mother. Some details. The past several months, the suit of pentacles is what primarily shows up in the cards. I'm pulling often reversed, but also upright, and I'm growing tired of seeing them. Are they coming to tell me I'm no longer happy in my job, that where I'm living is strained, or that I'm suffering scarcity mindset? Feeling power imbalances in relationships. All of the above are true to some degree. So how do I take the Pentacles lessons and move them into within my control? Please help. I have so little earth in my astrological makeup from an exasperated Gemini rising Libra sun. And if you guys can see this, please do click the thumbs up button. Make sure you give that a thumbs up for me. All right, so let's see what's going on with Katie. Really awesome question. She's getting a lot of pentacles in her readings, and she's wondering what is the deal, especially with this post-full moon triggering, or new moon triggering, excuse me. Yeah, this new moon that we just had in Leo, it's going to be giving all month long, okay? Okay, so in my mind, to be honest with you, okay, first of all, can we just gloat at the fact that there's no pentacles coming up? So that that off the bat is a really good sign. So we've got 8 of Swords coming up with Temperance and the 6 of Cups. okay? So past, present, future. We got a major arcana coming up in the present position, the center card. We have got that Eight of Swords, which is really kind of depicting feeling mentally stressed, stuck, maybe unwilling to acknowledge something. Maybe it's something that you didn't see before and now you're gaining more clarity. With the Eight of Swords, it does represent a situation where you feel like there are some challenges that are keeping you tied in a situation or held back or not being able to kind of break free. It can also be a placement that, or a card that talks about feeling like you can't escape, that you can't let go of mental triggers, of repeating similar conversations, of traumatic situations and things that make you feel like you're never going to break out of it. With this card, it's mental, right? Swords deal with the element of air. So it can be about overthinking, talking or rehashing the same situations, telling yourself you're never going to move forward. But I think that in the past position, it's basically saying like maybe in the past you have felt victimized, right? So when you're asking like, well, what does it relate to? Is it about, financial issues? Is it about living in a strained situation? I feel like it can be about rehashing the past. I don't think it's necessarily about the present. Pentacles aren't necessarily bad cards. I mean, it does talk about money. It does talk about health. It does talk about resources in your work. But I'm wondering if this is about being stuck in situations where you're feeling like you don't know your way forward. You don't know how to pull yourself out of them. The Temperance card coming up in the current position can be talking about going through a transitionary period of healing and waiting for the appropriate timing. It can also be talking about finding a balance in a situation. So I'm wondering, like, with the Six of Cups coming up, is it about really paying attention to not being overly focused on work, resources, material gains? I noticed that you pulled like scarcity and suffering, and in terms of a mindset, like, yeah, that's definitely something that comes up with the Eight of Swords, but it's referencing that this is something you're currently in the process of healing. Temperance card can come up specifically for physical healing, spiritual healing. It can also be about timing. So it can be about finding the perfect time to be able to kind of like make moves. It might mean that you're in a moment where it's not about forward motion. It's about taking stock of what you actually have been through, what you need to tend to emotionally, what you need to heal physically before you move forward. This can be a card that can also be about alchemy. This can be a card that comes up also relating to like Sagittarius, and it can also be about, I think, retrogrades. I liken temperance to retrograde periods. We have a lot of planets going retrograde right now, so I think that that might be part of like you kind of reevaluating, okay, what moves do I need to make before I make a change? And then you got the Six of Cups coming up, which is quite a positive card for the final position. It talks about having that connection and having like the sweeter side of life coming up for you, being able to reconnect to your inner child, to a more innocent time, finding opportunities to connect more deeply with existing relationships. Forgiveness is also like a really big theme that comes up here. So where the Eight of Swords is trapped, stuck, maybe identifying as like a victim or not being able to move forward, the Six of Cups is like, I'm going to allow myself to move on to something that's a little bit lighter, a little bit happier, a little bit friendlier. I don't necessarily know if these are cards that are work related. I feel like these are cards that are more so in relation to perhaps relationships where there's some relationship strain. So if it's going on with, family, or if it's going on with an existing relationship, or, friendships, it's about going through a period of needing a little bit of space and like letting things kind of cool off and like settle a little bit before you get to the Six of Cups and you're able to reconcile. So I think it's more about possibly a back and forth maybe that you're going through with relationships right now, especially if you feel like this eclipse, this new moon brought up almost like an eclipse energy that triggered something. I mean, the moon is a really sensitive point in the chart. I do think that this can be talking about once you give yourself the time to work through stuff and not feel like you're taking it personally or not allowing other people's issues to affect you, it will give both of you or both parties the time to be able to kind of work through some of this stuff and then come back together stronger and also in a kinder, sweeter way. And also tending to your own needs and your own wounds first before feeling like you're in a situation where you have to immediately, you know, cater to another person, or you have to forgive somebody else, or you have to really focus on the relationship. I think it's saying like, no, it's okay to tend to your own needs right now and like allow the dust to kind of settle before you're able to reconnect and kind of smooth some of this over. Sometimes, especially if you had a new moon that was in conjunction to your natal moon, until you see that get re-triggered again, like when you see Venus come back to about 25, 26 degrees, that can be that reconnection point where you're like, okay, I'm feeling emotionally like things are settling a little bit more now. Take into consideration also that Uranus is squaring it. So it can definitely be kind of sending some shock waves to your emotional state and creating some challenges in terms of your home, your emotions, your relationships with women. But I do think that there is like light at the end of the tunnel. So maybe some of the pentacles that are coming up are less about not having what you need or being kind of concerned about your resources. Maybe it's just encouraging you to focus more on what you can be doing to nurture and nourish your body physically. It can be about getting the physical things around you that you need in order to feel safe and secure. It's not really so much about people. It's not really so much about your mental or even your emotional state. It's about tending to the state of the body. So maybe perhaps there's going to be opportunity to do some kind of healing work that's going to come in with this Temperance card in the center position, more or less maybe over like the next 6 weeks or so, and allow yourself to really focus on clearing out some of these emotions that are coming to the surface before you're able to kind of reconnect with whoever you've had a little bit of like some friction with. But it does seem to actually end well, right? And this is going on for a lot of people with this lunar cycle. We're going to see, especially when the moon goes through the mutable signs and it comes into some squares, that's also going to be when more is going to shake out. Watch for when the moon goes through Libra. It's going to be like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. It'll go through Libra, conjunct the South Node, and then go into Scorpio. And that's going to be more or less the first opening square. And that's going to be about a detox and a purge as well. Okay. Hopefully that's helpful. Good luck. What's up, Sasha? How's it going? Hey, Susan. MJ, how's it going, guys? Let's see. Who else do we have here? Hey, Wild Soulflower. I like that. Good luck, Katie. All right, we've got Melissa here. Melissa says, 3-card reading. Relationships recently, unexpected breakup on Monday. Thank you so much and many blessings to you. Well, thank you, Melissa. Matt and Ashley, you guys are on deck. So let's see. Melissa, I'm sorry to hear about your breakup. Let's see what the cards have to say for you. And it was in this order. 7 of Cups, 3 of Cups, the Lover's card. Who was unsure in the matter? Obviously, if you're telling me it was an unexpected breakup, I'm going to assume that it kind of caught you off guard. I could be wrong, let me know. But 7 of Cups coming up is not being sure, potentially too many options, having some confusion, trying to make a decision, trying to find your way through a situation. There could have been a sense of being like, do I want to be in this? Do I not? But it could have also been about somebody not being entirely too clear about what their goals were in relationships, right? There could have been a sense of being half in, half out. I always get iffy when I see a question like this and the 7 of Cups and the 3 of Cups come up, because there can be a sense of people getting overwhelmed with too many potential options or having too many, concerns and things that are going on in their mind that they're not talking about, or potentially like going through a period of feeling like overwhelmed and that they've just got so many other things going on that, they're having a really difficult time being able to balance a relationship with the rest of the things taking place in their life. Equally, we see 3 of Cups coming up and then the Lover's card. I'm going to be really honest with you. Each and every one of these cards talk about options and choices. Okay, options and choices. Oh, there she is. Melissa says he was the one that ended it because he is afraid of commitment after his past divorce. And we were together for 5 years. He was overwhelmed with his life. He's bipolar. Okay, so honestly, you know, let me look at the bottom card for confirmation. Okay, death card. So if that had been a court card, I'd be like, there might be another person here. But I'm not getting that feeling. I think that, you know, sometimes Three of Cups coming up in like a relationship spread can talk about the fact that there is something that has gone on that is blocking them, that there is another energy that's affecting them. And if that is the fact that they, you know, can't get over a past relationship, they're not sure if they're really ready to open themselves up to another person, that can happen. But the death card being the confirmation card, I kind of feel like even if you've been in this relationship for years, if he's never really fully dealt with the ending of that relationship, if he's never really fully worked through that ending and figured out what it is that he wants, this could be a situation where it's just like you're in a relationship where you think it's just you two, but like the ghost of that ex-relationship past is still interfering, right? So there could potentially still be like an issue going on there that's hindering him from moving forward. The Lover's card also talks about choices and decisions, and like, I'd be lying to you if I said that I didn't really see a lot of love there, because I think that there is. Three of Cups does talk about that connection and doing things together, and there being a lot of love and harmony. And then the Lover's card does talk about being like, that is my other person, like that is the other part of me, right? That's my separate kind of piece of the whole. The Lover's card can talk about difficult decisions and difficult choices. And so like, you know, I think the Death card coming up as a confirmation is saying that what has happened. There's no going back now. Even if you guys do decide to get back together, to try to make it work, whatever, this is what I'm looking at. You can't really quite see it, but I'll put it here. That what has taken place is taken place. Like there is no going back to the way that things were. So maybe the cat's out of the bag and now you're aware that, you know, he's having commitment issues. He's not really sure what he wants. This is totally changing the game in terms of how you look at the relationship, and like, yeah, what's been said has been said. I do think that there is still a connection there though. And I do think that right now it may feel a little confusing for you because you're like, okay, what's going on? How do I move forward? Am I missing something? What's the problem? You're saying that he's struggling with some mental health issues. You know, Seven of Cups can be a card that comes up where people are struggling with mental health issues or addiction or, you know, worst case scenario, and like worrying or assuming that certain things could happen that may not actually be happening, right? This kind of talks about there being like this, like, you know, potential concern that's not grounded in reality. It can be fictional. I do think that, you may feel a little conflicted because, you know, the Three of Cups coming up with the Lover's card can be like, well, I do care about this person, but am I supposed to move on and open myself up to another person? This Venus retrograde is not screwing around. The retrograde is significant because Venus rules the South Node in Libra. So we're seeing lots of people break up. It is in a square to Jupiter and Uranus. So there is like a lot of people really reevaluating, okay, being in this relationship and physically having a partner, is it bringing me fulfillment, and is it actually making me feel secure, or is it a sense of false security? And so I think you got to ask yourself right now, A, are you feeling like you're a bit on the fence of whether or not you take this seriously and move forward? Or B, are you willing to hold out for a little bit and see if he comes to his senses and realizes that, number one, there is a lot of love there, but also number two, if he does decide to come back, are you going to let him know that there needs to be some like definitive changes in terms of the dynamic between the two of you? Because the Seven of Cups in the past position makes me feel like he will go back and forth. He'll flip-flop a lot. It's like, okay, this can work, or no, it can't. Yes, it can. Sometimes the Three of Cups can be about bringing in another person into the dynamic and sitting down and trying to find ways to kind of work together, especially emotionally. So if you guys do decide to, you know, hash this out and talk about being able to make it work, many people are going to go back and forth all summer long before we get to about October. And then we're going to start to see Venus, you know, in Virgo come into an opposition with Saturn. And that's when the real breaking apart is going to happen, the first half of October. So it might be worth sitting down and being like, look, if you want to talk about this, we can, but I'm not willing to move forward while you're still kind of hung up on the past. What has happened has happened. It's dead. It's in the past. We need to move on. And it may be beneficial for you guys to actually talk to somebody, talk to like a relationship coach or a therapist to really ensure you feel comfortable moving forward in this relationship, because the Lovers card tells me there is still a bond there in the future position, like that you guys still may actually come together, but there has to be a new beginning, and there needs to be a solid understanding that in order to move forward, he has to be willing to kind of, you know, put the past to rest, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Good luck. That's definitely a difficult one, but I don't really get the impression that that's completely in the past yet. I don't think it's done. Thanks, Sasha. I just got you. I appreciate it. I will add you to my list. Let's see. I got you both ways. I have you on PayPal and I have you on Super Chat. So let me know which one you want, because I already got you on Super Chat. I can send it back to you if you want on PayPal, unless you have 2 specific questions. Good luck, Melissa. All right, let's talk to Matt. Matt, and then Ashley, and then Rachel S. Matt has a couple questions for me. He says, will Mercury retrograde cause any major issues with my car? And how does this woman I'm talking to, Lizzie, see things going between us? I get the vibe that she isn't sure about me or might be talking to other people. She's a Cancer Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Aquarius Moon, Libra rising, Virgo Mars. Okay, so let's take a look. Thank you for your donation, Matt. So I'm going to do the 3 cards first with Mercury retrograde. Issues with your vehicle. Well, you're in Aries rising, so Mercury rules your 3rd house of vehicles, and it's retrograding through your 6th. So it's possible. Sure, there could be some stuff that you need to kind of work on with the car. That is possible. Let's take a look. So in this order, there it is again. Personally, I kind of feel like there can be a sense of you getting concerned about something happening, but like everything's okay. It's about like not psyching yourself out. 7 of Cups is this going to happen? Is that going to happen? What's going to take place? You want to look for like squares as well. And from what I remember about your chart, you got a lot of Capricorn in your chart. So some of the trines that you're going to experience might actually kind of smooth over some of the potential issues that you could be having with a vehicle, especially with the transiting planets in your 2nd house. 7 of Cups is like what's going to happen, worst case scenario. The 9 of Cups is basically saying like sitting in a position right now where everything's cool, or that anything that is going on you can handle, and it's not going to be anything that's going to be like even remotely financially concerning, or it's not going to be something that's going to surprise you. I would think like with Mercury retrograde, you know, making oppositions maybe to like Saturn. Saturn can be machines, by the way. So you want to watch when like the sun comes into opposition with Saturn and Mercury is retrograde. There could be a hang up there. You're also going to see that as Mercury retrogrades, it's going to trine Jupiter and also Uranus. It'll get close to a trine with Uranus, but mostly just Jupiter. And that's about like really looking into something. And the Jupiter in the 2nd house could be the physical body. So I wonder if that's just like more aesthetic stuff that you're looking into. And then the final card being the 8 of Swords. Kind of funky that shuffled the cards and those 2 cards came up again. So this is saying like not worrying about getting into a situation that you're not going to be able to handle or not going to be able to afford, or getting stuck. Here's that 3 of Cups at the bottom, wild. I do think that I'm wondering if this is going to be about you going like, is something going to happen where, you know, I'm not going to be able to use my car, or I'm not going to be able to move my car, or I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. Mercury trine Jupiter is about freedom. Okay, so it's the freedom to go where you need to go. So I do feel like part of this transit is about you going, okay, is everything good with the car? So if I do need to go somewhere, I'm not going to have any problems. I would not put too much concern into it, because I think with like the 7 of Cups and like the 8 of Swords coming up at the same time, you're kind of in a situation where, like, I'm not going to say you could will this into happening, but you could definitely worry about it to a point where like you're almost expecting it. I think it is possible eventually, when Mercury comes into a trine with Uranus, that you could see some stuff going on with like the electrical or like fuses, but it's something physical that you can replace. The other thing I would think about is also like when you start to see Mercury come into an opposition with Neptune. I'm a victim of this. I literally had this happen in this last week. My car has like a little, it's like a piece that's like a stopper that's underneath the steering wheel that has to do with the brake. And my husband noticed that my brake lights were not turning off. And I was like, what? And it's like a little piece that usually breaks off. And if it breaks off, then the lights don't, turn off, and then you have to go and get it replaced. Anyway, we couldn't find the piece. So we would have never known that it was actually broken. Quite literally to the astrology, the Mercury trine Jupiter, we're looking for it, we're trying to find it. And we still haven't found it, but we replaced the part just in time. Don't will this stuff to happen, I guess is what I'm getting at. And don't go looking for things that may potentially be wrong with the car, because I think that you're going to kind of like psych yourself out. What part of the year will that happen in? Well, we're going to see the Sun oppose Saturn in this next week. That's going to happen once the Sun goes into Virgo. So maybe after this next Sunday. But Saturn is machines. So we see issues with machines when we're having aspects to Saturn. So when Mars went into Virgo, I think we were starting to see all the stuff coming out about like the submarine that blew up. When Saturn went retrograde, we saw that there was like the submarine implosion. So it's always Saturn that deals with machines, but Mercury's now out of the opposition with Saturn. It's going to retrograde, but it's not going to be in an exact opposition. So I don't really see anything happening. I just see you kind of concerned about the potential of that happening. And if something does take place, being like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get around. I don't know how I'm going to fix it. Thanks, Sasha. Lily, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 8 people in the queue right now. If you guys want to get in the queue, scan the QR code, you can get a reading. All right, so let's take a look. I would also say like the Mars in opposition to Neptune stuff is about checking fluids. And making sure that you're checking fluids, because so some of those things are things that you may be able to kind of like change yourself, right? All right, so let's look at your other question that you have for me here. You were asking about this girl, Lizzie. So there's a girl I'm talking to, Lizzie. Do you see things going between us? Do you get the vibe that she's not so sure, or maybe talking to other people? In this order, I kind of get the impression that you're going to be pretty forward with her pretty soon about your intentions or your interests, and be pretty direct. I mean, look, if you're asking about a potential relationship or somebody that you're kind of seeing, I definitely think that Ace of Cups is a good card to get. It can be talking about the beginning of a new relationship potential. Feeling emotionally connected, the opportunity for a relationship to grow, there being opportunity for there to be love there. The Emperor shows up in the now position. Kind of interesting being an Aries rising that you're pulling the Emperor, because the Emperor very much is about that. Part of it, I think, is Venus is going retrograde in your 5th house. So you're seeing that retrograde, which is, the ruler of your 7th of committed relationships, going back and forth in the 5th. So it can mean somebody's pulling away. Venus might go direct and you go, okay, she's here, we're good. You have to see what happens with the retrograde. But I do think also part of Mars going into your 7th house pretty soon, Mars, the Emperor, is going to be about taking action, being like, where are we going in this potential connection? Like, are we doing this? Or are we not doing this? Are you interested or not? Like, you might see that there's a side of you that's getting a little bit more feisty. And the Emperor is an energy that is about letting people know what your intentions are, right? He is about being a leader. He's about being somebody who naturally knows what it is that he wants, and he kind of gets the job done. So for that to be coming up in regards to like a relationship question, for me, I think it's really addressing you personally, being like, look, if you like her, go after her, make it very clear what your intentions are and that you're pursuing her. The Page of Swords might be indicating that there is like an impending conversation or a text message or a phone call or something where you're gonna call her up and be like, look, you know, like, are you into this or are you not into this? What are we doing? And it's not about giving your power away. It's more about just voicing your thoughts and the direction of where you're going and your concern and stating what your intentions are. It might mean that there's like a shift in the way that you're communicating with her, being like, I want to see you. Do you want to see me? Okay, great. Let's make plans. Like, I'll pick you up on Friday. And being a little bit more assertive when it comes to letting her know that you're interested. It makes sense with the astrology, and I do think that you really want to be paying attention to what's going on with relationships really clear until about mid-October. When that solar eclipse comes in Libra, you know that it's going to be very close to your moon. So it can be the very beginning process of being like, okay, the sun and the moon are coming together. They're getting ready to start this, this conjunction. So it can be the beginning of a relationship that could be more committed or more defined actually taking shape. And I think that, you know, the Page of Swords is kind of saying like, you know, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about how I'm feeling or what I think or what I'm hoping to achieve. It's not so much emotional, although the Ace of Cups is, you know, there. I think it's more about letting her know what your intentions are and what you're hoping to kind of, you know, potentially have together. She may respond very well to that with Mars being in your 7th house. You might see somebody who suddenly is like, oh, okay, well, now that you've put it that way, you know, let's get things going. And I also think with the South Node that's going to be, you know, making aspects ultimately to your moon, anybody who's not emotionally in it, like you're going to be able to tell very quickly. And you may see with the Mars transits that if somebody is around that's not potential relationship material, you might see that you could move forward pretty quickly with, especially with that Page of Swords. I feel like it can be indicating that other people can be popping in. Now, I don't really see this as her being in a relationship with another person because the Ace, or anything committed, because the Ace of Cups is coming up in the early position, in the past position. So it's saying there's an emotional connection there, and it's worth exploring and kind of seeing if you guys can move forward. Confirmation card that I got for you is the Four of Cups. So I think it's also about kind of feeling a little disappointed if things don't move forward, but I believe that would only come from lack of connection and communication, like lack of being like, okay, this is how I feel, what do you think? If you just let things go, you may continue to kind of feel like she's kind of going back and forth, but this is when you address things, is during the retrogrades. It's a better time to kind of get everything out in the open and kind of see how somebody else feels, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Good luck. We're gonna leave the queue open for another 5 minutes. Put 5 minutes on the clock. I've got Ashley, Rachel, Tiara, and then Nancy Z. Thank you, Lily. Ashley says, my question is, what should I be focusing on this time in my career? I'm an intuitive life coach and tarot reader, Pisces sun, Capricorn moon, Virgo rising. Thank you in advance. You're welcome, Kurt. Well, that's a good combination, huh? Virgo rising, Capricorn moon. That's very business oriented, but you got like the Pisces sun going on, so you're able to really help other people direct their lives, huh? All right, so let's take a look. What should Ashley be focusing on right now when it comes to her career? I love this for you, Ashley. You get the Knight of Wands for your question. And so, you know, I think of like Virgo risings and the fact that You're having a Venus retrograde right now in the 12th house. That's a fire energy. You're having eclipses in the 8th house, which can be about finding ways to generate or create new resources, right, from other people. The Knight of Wands can be about fire signs. So, you know, Aries, Leo, Sagittarians can come in, but Knights are dedicated to their cause. So they get on the horse, they charge into battle. This tells me that you're moving full steam ahead with like new creative things. Like you're feeling much more passionate and wanting to kind of shake things up a little bit. You're going to be having this Mercury retrograde in your sign, which is going to be trining your moon in the 5th house, which is about creativity and self-expression and also self-employment. So I wonder, especially with Mercury, which is your chart ruler, making the aspects it's going to make to your moon and Jupiter and Uranus, are you going to think about creating a course, right? Because 9th house can be teaching. Are you thinking about maybe trying to do something that you would publish? Are you thinking about maybe trying to come up with like a new marketing campaign, 9th house, to generate more interest and action and attention revolving around what it is that you're creating? I wonder also if it's about trying to connect with people in other places, because the 9th house can be about people who are further away. In my mind, the Knight of Wands is about taking chances and being like, okay, you know, I'm going to take a chance and see if this is going to work. It's very different than all of that earth and water that you have in your chart. And that's kind of what I like about this, is that you've got, you know, Sag, Aries, and Leo all in like water houses. So it's about really taking chances, making change, doing things that are more creative, and like seeing how that can also be almost like therapeutic, or that you're channeling some of this stuff very psychically. Oh, Ashley says, creating a course now. I like it. I feel like even though this might feel a little risky, or that this might be different than what you're used to doing, it's definitely good for you, because it's almost like getting things moving again. Like if you feel like things have been kind of stagnant, things are now going to begin to start kind of moving. I think about next year and how Jupiter is going to go into your 10th house, and it's going to be in Gemini. Jupiter in Gemini has kind of like a funky vibe, because technically it's going to be moving through a sign that is opposite to Sagittarius. So it does represent being kind of flippant, or going back and forth, or something that it requires you to do two things, or to travel, or to write. So I feel like what's kind of brewing right now is that you may be generating what could be another form of income. So by the time you get to next year, if you feel like you want to scale back on, you know, the one-on-one sessions, and you have things that are creating a residual, and maybe you want to travel more, right? Or maybe you want to start doing retreats, or maybe you want to focus more on relationships, you can pivot. So it's a great card right now for feeling inspired and being creative. And I'm excited to see what comes of that course, especially as you're getting into like the end of the year. You know, I haven't created a video about this yet, but not a lot of people realize, you know, the North Node in Aries is about Mars, and Mars is going to go into Scorpio, which is going to be really powerful, especially if you're teaching stuff. You're going to see Mars also go into Capricorn, where it's exalted. So those are two times that I would kind of look at for when you're getting ready to like launch and do things. This summer, things are very slow because we have a lot of retrogrades. So we may be waiting to launch some things maybe a little bit, you know, down the line, when Saturn is direct, when Mars is going to be in better aspect. But yeah, I already started looking at the astrology this fall, and I'm trying to kind of pick and choose my dates as well. But stay focused with the creative process. It looks like you're really taking some chances, and I think that they're going to pay off. Good luck with that. Definitely not an easy thing to create a course, man. You got to be organized and creative, you know? Thank you, T. I got you. I'll add you to my list. I've got Rachel, Tiara, and Nancy Z. And then I have Rachel, and then I'm going to go into my super chats. Thank you guys for your patience. I appreciate it. We got another minute and a half. If you want to scan the QR code, $20 donation for one card, $40 for three. Okay, so Tiara, let's see. Do I have your question? I think you sent it. Did you? Are you here, Tiara? Because I don't have your question. Are you here? I know Nancy's here, but Tiara Abram, if you're here, let me know. I'm going to take Nancy. I'm waiting to hear back from Tiara. Nancy Z. One card. Hello. I'm a Sag Sun, Cancer Rising, Aries Moon. I wanted to know if I should transfer silver into cash to pay the remaining balance of a January trip that is due this month. Okay, Nancy Z, this is for you. Oh, Taria. Sorry, Taria. Are you here, Taria Abram? So this is going to be for Nancy Z. She wants to know, should she cash in on this to pay balance? Balance due. There's that Knight of Wands coming back up. Personally, I feel like this coming up is definitely about being like, okay, slow your roll. Is there other ways that you could potentially do this without feeling like you have to cash in on that? The Temperance card is about timing. So obviously if it's due this month, you're kind of feeling the pressure of having to pay that off. But this card makes me feel like, okay, well, are there other things that you can take from? Are there other ways for you to swing it? Do you have to cash everything out? I feel like this is about tweaking things and trying to find ways where you can pull resources out of something so you're not totally tapping into everything. So if you're in a situation where you're like, do I cash everything out? I would say the Temperance card is saying, no, it's not about cashing everything out. It's about holding on to something and being able to find the resources elsewhere to be able to make that happen. It's interesting that the Knight of Wands came up as the bottom card because I do think it's basically saying, like, if you are making a decision to do this, there can be a sense of you rushing into it and being like, oh, you know, I don't know if I should have done that. Yeah, I have an annuity too. I would consider seeing where else you can take it from. And I'm also saying that partially, not just because of the tarot, but I do think you're going to see huge swings with physical metals in this next year. Physical things is Taurus. Jupiter is about abundance. Uranus is sudden growth. And in the next couple of years, you're going to see Jupiter go through Gemini, and then in the end of I think it's going to be 2025 actually, Jupiter's going to go into Cancer. Cancer and the moon is what rules silver. So when we start seeing that's like ingress in about 2 years' time, that's going to be potentially pretty wealthy. It's going to be pretty valuable. And I think you're also going to see if there's fluctuation with gold, it may also impact silver. So if you have something else you can take it from, that's fine. I would say try to weigh your options and see if you can take a smaller amount if possible. Okay. Taria, are you here? Where are you going, Nancy? Where are you visiting? If you want to get a reading, get in the queue. We've got Rachel Parks. Rachel's got 2 questions. I LOL'd. Ooh, she's going to Tahiti. Have fun. Okay, Rachel says, oh, Pajama Guy is back. Kinda. No surprise. I'm not sure if he's hooking up with other girls too. Advice, please. I can't seem to shake him. Going on 4 years of this dance. Well, those of you guys who have been following the Pajama Guy saga for some time knows that this has been a back and forth. So let's see. So what do we do about Mr. This has got to be a joke. How many times have I pulled this card? Oh my goodness. Okay, what's the confirmation card in the bottom? Okay, so we've got the Judgment card. That was, I can't make excuses for this. The card of tonight's readings, or the show tonight, is definitely the Knight of Wands. I mean, look, of all of the nights, and I'm just being honest here, the one that's probably going to be the booty call night is definitely going to be the Knight of Wands. You know, because it's like he rushes in, he rushes out. Knight of Cups is at least an emotional connection. You know, Knight of Pentacles is going to be somebody who's kind of slow and steady. And even if they take a while to come around, they're more reliable. And then the Knight of Swords is somebody who I feel like it's like sometimes all talk and no action. But the Knight of Wands is somebody who's showing up. They come in hot and fast. There's an opportunity for connection. And I definitely feel like this is saying you need to be prepared that he can come in very quickly and he could also leave very quickly. Confirmation card that I get is the Judgment card. So it's basically saying like, you know, are you going to be looking at the dynamic between the two of you and saying to him like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm sick of the back and forth. The Knight of Wands could also represent you being a little bit more kind of like, I'm going to do what I want in the situation. And then, you know, kind of like take a step back. It could be that you're the one who's feeling like you want to be calling the shots or you want to be having the interaction and then kind of go in your own way. The Judgment card is a more definitive card though. So it can mean that maybe you're coming to the conclusion of the realization that this is how this is going to be between the two of you. And you might look at it and be like, this is how it's always been. This is how it's going to be. The Judgment card can also be about acceptance for the state of how a dynamic is. So if you're used to knowing, okay, you know, technically I still have a connection with him. I just have to give him the freedom to come and go. And if you're okay having him in that capacity, it's about acknowledging that and accepting it. But I feel intuitively with that card, it's basically saying like he's coming in. There's a lot of opportunity for togetherness, for excitement, physical connection. But ultimately, you may say to him, you know, with the Judgment card, I'm getting sick of the back and forth, and I'm realizing that you have a tendency to do this. Where is this going, right? Also, Saturn's retrograding through your 7th house. So I could definitely see this being a time where you're reflecting on whether or not you need to have better boundaries, or it can be about somebody actually returning from the past, especially Venus retrograde, right? That can be definitely a huge theme for you as well. Although I believe you're Virgo rising, right? So that retrograde's primarily in your 12th house, and it can be about kind of clearing up some kind of karmic connection before you ultimately decide to potentially close the door. But for right now, yeah, he's coming in hot. He's going to keep coming in hot, but it's up to you to decide whether or not you just want a quick fling, or if you're going to tell him what's up and that you don't want to continue that cycle, right? Looks like your second question was, I would love advice on going to court for custody of my 2 kids. Their dad wants 50-50 and to stop paying child support. Currently, I have primary custody. We have court again Monday. Virgo rising. Let's see. Taurus sun currently conjunct Jupiter. So that's good. That's really helping you. And a Gemini moon. So just food for thought, you know, the North Node in Aries, as a Virgo rising, you're going to be having that go through your 8th house, which means Aries, you have to fight for 8th house money owed and resources, and whether or not, you know, you're fighting for what somebody owes you, or you're having to push back on somebody trying to take something from you. And you're getting ready to have Mars actually go through your 2nd house in Libra, and you're going to have eclipses there. So if there's going to be a change, I would say mid-October is the time to watch, because that could definitely be where there's some kind of shift where other people are trying to give less. But let's see what the cards say. Interesting. So first of all, you know, the King of Cups coming up, Ace of Pentacles as a confirmation. I feel like this is like saying like somebody, the person that you're dealing with, or you, that this is like a very emotional matter, right? And King of Cups generally can be somebody who's emotionally reasonable. You're able to kind of like level with them. There can be situations that you can handle in a kind or loving manner. But the King of Cups can also be about, you know, somebody responding to things very emotionally, or being kind of emotionally all over the place when it comes to making some of these changes. I think about also the fact that, you know, Saturn is going to continue to go through your 7th house, and it's about holding other people responsible. I personally will be surprised if this is going to be a situation where he's walking away from any responsibility completely financially, because the King of Cups is coming up with a confirmation card of the Ace of Pentacles. So it does mean that even if there is something that's renegotiated in regards to the custody agreement, he's still having to support, or he's still having to, you know, assist or help pay for something. It's very unlikely, while you're having the South Node going through your second house, unless there are some really hard aspects to Venus, and Venus is retrograde. So part of it might be about showing up and being like, these are the expenses relating to taking care of the kid. This is what he's wanting to do. But also, is he capable of being able to really provide for the kids in the way that they're being provided for? And showing proof and being like, these are the expenses, and like, I can't realistically have less support than what I have now. I do see him still having to kind of show up. I would just be mindful that he can be very emotional, and it's important maybe to be trying to appeal to him in a way that's like a little bit more calm and rational, and being like, look, this can't be a matter of, you know, you doing this because we have some kind of personal tiff. Like, we actually need to be on the same page about what's going on with our family, and like, you know, contributing because you're helping take care of these kids. But yeah, look for the eclipse around mid-October for there to be like a more definitive answer. But the cards seem to kind of indicate he's still going to have to be supporting in some way. And I think this is also for you about being or feeling emotionally strong and supported, and like going into it not feeling like you're going to get rocked, or that you're, I mean, obviously concerned that you're going, but not allowing yourself to go into it feeling like you're not going to be supported, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Good luck with that. Light a brown candle. Brown candles can be really helpful with going to court cases. Let's see, who do we have? Did Tiara show up? Hey, Bianca. Hey, Ona. Madison, Lily. Thank you, guys. I got you. Okay, so let's see who I have here. Sasha. Is that... how do you say your name? Soriana? Am I saying that correctly? Shiza. Heba. Madison. Bianca. I got you guys. If Tiara pops in, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to take my two people from the super chat, and then I'll keep going on with my list here. Nancy, if you pop in, let me know. Okay, Sasha. Sasha says, keep them both. I just want to know if the crush on my tutor, I'm 26, he's 28, is even realistic. We both met through Zoom, and he lives across the country. I have a 12th house stellium, so I keep going for taboo relationships. Okay. How about, since you paid for 2 readings, I will do general what I see, and then I'm going to see what he thinks about you. Okay, so we're going to do first general what I see in regards to you and the tutor. In this order. Oh my goodness. Knight of Wands. Everybody's getting attention. All right, so this is in regards to you and him. It's kind of interesting because the 5 of Cups, I don't know if this is just talking about like the situation, or if this is a situation where you haven't really been feeling seen, or maybe you've had some disappointments in love recently or relationships. You know, 5 of Cups is the, you know, nobody sees me, I'm not making connections, very rarely do I see somebody that I like. Not really feeling open to relationships. You've got the 3 of Cups that spilled over and the 2 of Cups that are behind you. So have you been kind of like healing from disappointments in relationships, or have you been feeling like a little bit lonely? Pisces sun, Cancer moon, Pisces rising. I would imagine, yeah, with the Pisces rising, that's just me, with Saturn in your first house. But this is in the past position, so maybe you've been going through like a little bit of like a blue phase. And then you've got the Hangman, which is like, okay, like, you know, do I say something? Do I not? Like kind of being in a state of not wanting to show too much interest, but also not wanting to shy away from it. This is a card that does deal with Pisces, but this is also a card that's like waiting for the right moment. I'm sure you know what that feels like, being a Pisces rising. You guys won't do anything until like your intuition is like, okay, now. And so you can go through periods of like kind of turning inward or making delays in making decisions. And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, right now. So it looks like you're waiting for that inner guidance, or maybe like a sign from the universe, or maybe you're asking for the universe to, you know, send you something very specific before you say or do anything to potentially, yeah, kind of like approach that situation with him. Maybe you're like marinating on it a little bit and kind of concerned about putting yourself out there and being vulnerable or being seen or taking a chance. Now, I think part of it's also just, I mean, it's going to be interesting the next month or so for you, because you're a Pisces rising. You know, Saturn and Neptune are retrograde in your first house. Mercury's going retrograde in your seventh house. And Neptune can literally be about screens. And so you're going to have Mercury, which is somebody who's relaying or teaching something to you, that's going retrograde in opposition to Neptune. So you may feel as if you're like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I say something? I think with the trines that you're experiencing from Jupiter in the seventh to, Jupiter in the third to Mercury in the seventh, it's probably a good idea for you to like get it all out in writing first, or like maybe have like, you know, like an email you send to him, or like sit and like really marinate on how you want to pitch it in terms of being like, oh, we should catch up at some point again in the future, like opening that door to seeing what's possible, because the Mercury retrograde looks a little confusing. What's interesting is that the Knight of Wands coming up, once again, this is like the third or fourth time it's come up this evening, seems to indicate that there can be a spark of something that can take place, and it can be like him being like, oh, like, oh, you're interested. And it could be like this kind of romantic, like whirlwind thing. This is also a card that talks about passion and desire and somebody taking action, or something involving like movement or travel. So I wouldn't completely rule out like, oh, they live in another place, so this could never be a thing. I think it's very possible. So much of the Venus retrograde in a square to Jupiter is about love being willing to go the distance for some people. You hear a lot of astrologers talking about, oh, Mercury's retrograde, Venus is retrograde, don't waste your time. But believe it or not, like when these planets retrograde, sometimes we can have karmic relationships come into our life. And we've been in the shadow really for a while, since June with Venus, and we've also been in the shadow for like the last like month or so with Mercury. So I have a good feeling about this. I kind of feel like there is the potential for there to be something. You're just really waiting until you know it's the right time to be able to kind of go back and forth with him. Okay, so let's see how he feels about you, and what he thinks, or maybe if there is like a mutual interest or an attraction. So let's see, what does the tutor think of Sasha? Oh man. So obviously these cards are kind of wild. Six of Cups, the Empress, and the Tower card. Crossed with the Six of Wands. So the Tower position, you know, I think in my mind, that being the last card is basically saying like, this could be like this earth-shattering like situation, or it could be a situation where he's like, everything is perfect, there's a connection there, but like this could be the worst thing in the world if we're not actually able to come together. So there could be some hesitation or concern that if you guys get involved and if it ends up being like a thing, or, you know, maybe you guys, you know, really like each other, that it would create such significant change in his life. The Tower card can be like, okay, once this whole thing is taken place, like there's no going back, or it's kind of pulling the rug out from underneath some of his current life situations or some of his stability. What's interesting though is the Six of Cups and the Empress card does tell me that he looks forward to reconnecting with you. Like there is like a sense of like not just being like, oh, I have another tutor. It's like, oh, I like talking to her. You know, like there is a connection there. Some astrologers and tarot readers, I guess, will connect the Six of Cups to soulmate energy, being like very connected intuitively, romantic, reminiscing. Like this is also kind of like a soulmate-y card. It does deal with Scorpio season in particular. And the Empress card comes up in the current position. So there's this sense of being like, I like talking to her, I like connecting with her. You know, something feels like really warm and fuzzy, and, you know, seeing you as somebody who's attractive and beautiful, but also somebody who he values, like he respects, right? The Empress. I feel like there can be a sense of him being like, oh, she's out of my league. You know, like that could never happen for me. Or, you know, if I were to put myself out there, there's no way that she would want me. And maybe some concern revolving around maybe if there was an interest, if it was not reciprocated. And the Tower card can be like, oh, I don't even know if I want to go there because, like, you know, I don't want to like seem like silly because, you know, it could be a situation where it's embarrassing because I have to keep meeting with her, Six of Cups. The confirmation card that I get though is the Six of Wands. And so I do feel like that to me is opening the doors, saying you are welcome, or, you know, like I am open to connecting with you. Or maybe it's sending him an email after like a session and being like, thank you so much. Like I look forward to seeing you, like letting him know that he's well received. So you're kind of giving him like the kind of not so obvious green light to communicate and like let him know that there is also a mutual interest in connecting and that you look forward to it. But keep in mind, like I said, I do think that he looks at this as like, oh, you know, what if I really do like her and like have a connection and fall for her, and like I'd have to make some major like life-changing decisions or changes, and like the challenges that might potentially present. Oh my goodness, where do they live? Let's see, who else do I have here? I have one other person. I have T, and after I have T, I have Shiza, Heba, Madison, and Bianca. What's up, T? Thank you for your donation. T is a Pisces rising, Aries sun, Sag moon. I'd like to know if I should be pursuing entrepreneurship, my creative talents, to become financially independent. Let's find out. Oh, Seattle to Miami ain't too far. You can make that work. Why don't you guys meet in the middle? Come to Texas. Ask him if he's seen Sleepless in Seattle. You guys should watch that together on Zoom. All right, so let's see. For T, should she be embracing her creative endeavors and something that is going to give her independence, be more creative and entrepreneurial? Oof, the moon. Murphy in the House. Such a good movie. I get the moon card for you, T, which is interesting because this is a card that's about trusting your intuition. It's about sometimes doubt and concern because you can't see clearly in the dark. It can be about having dreams or gut feelings about something that is getting ready to unfold in your life or something that's getting ready to show up. Pisces rising. I think of like, you know, some of the transits that are taking place in your second house, which is very entrepreneurial. Eclipses in the second house in Aries is, how do I get what I need? How do I build my empire? How am I taking action and taking, you know, steps forward? With Saturn and Neptune being in your first house, I think a lot of this is about envisioning it, you know, seeing it come into a reality. Definitely being tested a little bit though, because there are some changes going on right now in terms of how do I find my right audience? How do I find clients? What do other people want? How do I make this happen? How do I make it work? And I really feel like a lot of this is about learning to get into a state where you're doing some kind of reflection, meditation, tarot, right? Doing some dream work, things that are going to be kind of like showing you that you have to be listening to your intuition and trying to figure out when you're going to make some changes. Confirmation card you get is the 3 of Cups. So I also feel like this is about surrounding yourself with people who professionally are going to be supporting you, or other creatives and like people who are in the same type of industry that you could network with. So you feel like you have a support system and other people who are also actively doing that. It's so important when you're working independently, especially if you're, working odd hours, you're working from home and you're not having that connection that you would generally have. Let's say if you were working at a 9 to 5. But I do feel like it's going to bring you a lot of joy and a lot of fulfillment in going in this direction. I do feel like there can be a lot of collaborating and working with other people. And I think right now with the Moon card, there is a lot of needing to listen to your intuition and your emotions, which are telling you this change needs to be made. But it's really, I think, going to start to kind of come into fruition, the networking, probably like right around December, January, right? When Mars goes through your 11th house. And then again, you're going to start to see more of this kind of blossoming for you. Personally, I think in the new year, when you start seeing eclipses in the 2nd house. Something else to take into consideration, Jupiter and Uranus in your 3rd. So online businesses, communication, anything in regards to writing, anything in regards to like little websites and things that you can kind of like create and stuff that might even be like designs or, social media related. Really good. I just think you're going to start seeing it building more come the new year, Hopefully that's helpful. Definitely, yes. The answer is yes. It's just a lot of having to believe it, before it comes into fruition. Good luck. We have got Soriana. Am I saying that correctly? Soriana. And then Shiza, and then Heba. All right, Soriana says, hi, thank you for taking my question. I'm a Pisces sun, Libra rising. My ex-husband is a Taurus sun, Sag rising. Are we going to have a fresh start by the end of 2023? Oof. So you're a Libra rising, you got his sun in your 8th house, he's a Sag rising. I'm pretty sure y'all were going back and forth during the Mars retrograde last fall, because Mars was retrograde in his 7th. And something to take into consideration is eclipses are now happening in your 7th house. You had one there in April, so it can be fresh starts in relationships. But is it going to be with your ex? The card that you get is the Hanged Man. Just some food for thought, okay? Because that, the hangman is like a wait and see approach. It's letting things fall into place on their own without you making them happen, right? Libra risings, they want to initiate relationships. I think about Mercury retrograde in your 12th. I think about Venus retrograde in your 11th. It's about reevaluating your goals. I also think that this is touching on like the Saturn Neptune in your 6th house. And this is about acknowledging where certain relationships can be out of balance, right? And like learning to look at the relationship and go, I'm not going to be the one to jump in and fix it. They need to be the one who's got to like work through their stuff and then, come back and meet me halfway. And it can be really hard for Libra risings to do that because they want to people please and they, kind of want to push things a little bit. But I think that the hangman is saying right now, you have to let him do his end of the work and actually come forward. And that might also be about pursuing you. If Aries is in your 7th house, it means your partner should show up, be really clear, definitely focus on trying to connect with you and pursue you and be letting you know what their intentions are. Watch for when Venus and Saturn come into an opposition. Watch for when Mars comes into conjunction with the South Node. Personally, I think that for the two of you guys to come together, the 8 of Coins as a confirmation is saying there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I think it's not necessarily work that you're doing together. It's work you guys are doing independently. And it's a lot of waiting and allowing that to kind of happen naturally. But Your job is not to be the person who's making things happen, right? I would also say that, there's still a Taurus eclipse that's coming. There's going to be an eclipse in Taurus that's going to be around the end of October. And for Taurus suns, or, I guess you could say Taurus risings as well, but let's just say Taurus suns, it's a lot of like completing things personally for them, right? So I definitely feel like something to take into consideration is that if he's a Sag rising, that's going to be the 6th house. So that might indicate like y'all are going to know right around the end of October whether or not it's going to work. Believe it or not, endings of relationships, I believe, is the 6th house. So you have Saturn and Neptune going through there as a Libra rising. If the relationship's been on the fritz, you already know. And if it's your ex-husband or if you guys have separated. And equally, he's going to have an eclipse that's going to be going through his 6th house as a Sag rising. And I think the problem right now with the Venus retrograde is that Venus is retrograde, which affects you being a Libra rising. It's squaring Uranus in Taurus in the 8th house, which means how can I be friends with a Taurus and not make it sexual? Or how can I be friends with them and be trying to kind of create that friendship and like, am I going to take it personally if they can't be my friend, right? What's up, Anne? I just saw you there. Aries full moon, yeah. And the Aries full moon, which is going to be also kind of a big deal. It's not an eclipse though, thank God. We don't have those for a little bit. But it is going to be the closing full moon from the new moon that we had in Aries. Okay, remember the solar eclipse in April? Here's what I think. I think that if this were me, I would really give this until October. And I think if you can be friends without it being like a physical touchy-feely thing, great. I would also say as a Libra rising, you have Saturn and Neptune approaching your descendant. So you want to be really careful about back and forth in relationships right now. I'm not saying you can't do that, but that definitely can bring a situation where there can be a definitive end in a relationship because somebody's Saturn Neptune is failing to be able to meet your standards or expectations, or they're not giving you what you need. You got to take into consideration a lot of stuff. You want to look at like the synastry and the composite. But I think that just knowing your guys' astrology, having a Libra rising with a Taurus sun in your 8th house, that's a very karmic relationship. It's almost hard to detach from that relationship if their sun is in your 8th house. And if you have all that Libra, I feel like as a Sag rising, or what are you? You're a Pisces sun? Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's technically his 4th house. So I guess more or less the Saturn transit in Pisces for him can be whether or not you guys are deciding to come back together, right? And yeah, I think Mercury retrograde for a Sag rising too. Mercury's going retrograde in their 10th house. Changes in status and stuff going on with, their home life. But they're going to be kind of going through that for a little while. Just don't focus on the physical aspect of it. That's my advice. And I definitely think that you have to wait and see if he's actually going to make the moves to actually better benefit you in the relationship. Good luck. Let's see. So we've got Shiza. Shiza says, I'm looking for another job and have been applying. Which month or how long will it take me to find my job? My birthday is February 18th, 1992. Well, let's take a look. It sounds like, depending on that year, you're either a really late degree Aquarius or you're the very first beginning degrees of Pisces. And Saturn is conjunct your sun. So it can be this feeling of limitations revolving around what's going on with your work, right? There you go. So you are Aquarius. Okay. And you're a Leo moon. Whoa. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's see which month or how long do you think it's going to take to find a job? Well, the good news is this is a very good card, my dear. And this is one of those cards that definitely gives us timing as well. So there's a couple different ways I can look at this. Number one, if you look at this card, the Wheel of Fortune, it does talk about fortune being in your favor. Every time I see this, I think of like the Wheel of Fortune when they call you down and then you have the opportunity to like win a prize. This particular card is talking about your fortune changing, something kind of working in your favor. So it's saying good blessings are coming your way. You're going to have the opportunity to get something. Two, is you have the fixed signs that are here on these particular cards. So we've got Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. Right now we're in Leo season, okay? And so being that you're in Aquarius rising, I would think about some of the changes that are potentially going to be coming with Scorpio. When you start having transits through Scorpio, and it is kind of indicating, especially being that that's your 10th house to your sun, most likely that's when you're going to see this. That is also the next fixed sign period. So Scorpio, then we're going to have Aquarius, then we're going to have Taurus. I also think about when we have Mars going through Scorpio. So that's going to be happening in the fall as well. And Mars is going to be super powerful in your 10th house. I also think that there can be the sense of like adjusting to things during Sagittarius season, because sometimes the Wheel of Fortune has connections to Jupiter, and Jupiter can be talking about from that transition period of Scorpio into Sagittarius. That's when you're going to be like adapting to like a new work environment, a new option. What I like about this also is that the Wheel of Fortune in some ways does connect to like these, I guess like I call them like the gates in astrology. You know how the cardinal signs, the 0 degrees of the cardinal signs are all like the world axis points, or they represent the equinoxes and the solstices. Well, the halfway point through the fixed signs, so 15 degrees of Taurus, 15 degrees of Leo, Scorpio, and also Aquarius, these are all points as well. Jupiter's actually hanging out right around 15 degrees of Taurus. So I feel like what's happening with this Venus retrograde is it's like pushing you to get out there and meet people. 7th house to your sun, getting out there and interviewing, connecting with people to make it possible for you to have a breakthrough with Jupiter, Taurus, to be able to have a new job. So I'm kind of thinking it's going to be November for you. Look right around like the first half of November. That's probably when you're going to see something's going to come through. Obviously, it could be sooner. The Wheel of Fortune just doles stuff out, but timing-wise, this is going to be about fixed stuff, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Good luck. Lots of good work vibes. We have Heba, and then Madison and Bianca. Heba says, can I get a general reading for a future long-term relationship? I'm an Aries. Okay. So let's take a look for you. The Aries, what do we see for a potential future long-term relationship? You are very welcome. Okay, so this is interesting. Ace of Wands, King of Swords, Two of Swords. Is there somebody hanging around right now? Is there an air sign hanging around right now? Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Interesting that the Ace of Wands comes up first. So it talks about something moving, something quick, some new opportunity, like a seed that's being planted. I see like the Ace of Wands is kind of like a new moon. And we just had a new moon in Leo, in a fire sign. Ace of Wands talks about passion, excitement, creativity. Something that's going to be growing and developing. It can be taking place during the fire months. We got still a couple more days left here in Leo season before we go into Virgo season. But this can be about wanting something that's going to bring opportunity for passion, bring opportunity for creativity, fulfillment, having a lot of connection. Oh, there she is. She says, yeah, a Libra. Okay. So the reason why I asked if there was an air sign person hanging around is because the King of Swords is showing up. So essentially, this is somebody who can be an air sign. They communicate very well. They're very direct. They're, intellectual. They're well-spoken. It can also be talking about somebody who is talking to you about what their interests are, or what their desires are, or what they're wanting to do. And it's somebody that you should still be kind of talking to. Then we've got the Two of Swords, which is saying somebody who's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't make a decision. I'm scared. Two of Swords represents balancing things. What does your comment say? But he decided he wasn't over his ex after 3 months of talking. Excuse me. Okay, so the Two of Swords talks about weighing those two options and feeling stuck. Here's the thing. The confirmation card that's coming up is the King of Pentacles. I can see this going one of two ways. One, it's that if he potentially comes back around, he could be coming back only when he knows that he's ready and he's solid, King of Pentacles. Two is that this can be an indication that you've hit a bit of a snag with this particular person, partially because he's not really sure what he wants, but also partially because the Ace of Wands was saying you've got something coming in. There is going to be the growth and the development of a relationship. It is going to continue. You are going to see that there are going to be more people who are going to be shuffling in, even if you're not looking for it. While he's busy kind of like weighing his options and trying to decide whether or not he's going to show up, there may be another person that you end up meeting. This is a completely different suit. So the King of Pentacles can be about an earth sign popping in. It can be about a Virgo, a Taurus, or a Capricorn. What I will say is kings are at least decent options for partners. I like men coming up as kings because it tells me that they really are potentially like mature and they have their wits about them and they can be solid options and choices for people that you end up partnering with. Where the King of Swords can be in his head a lot and thinking about things a lot and a little indecisive because it's an air element. The King of Pentacles is like very matter of fact and direct and to the point. So generally this will be like a Taurus or a Capricorn or a Virgo. I personally feel with the King of Pentacles coming up, this more so than not tends to have like really strong Taurus placements or a Taurus signature. So it could be like a Taurus rising or a Taurus moon or somebody who has a second house stellium. And this is somebody who focuses on commitment, long-term related things, consistency. They really put a lot of focus and effort into like long-term planning. So somebody may come in who's a little bit older or somebody who is assured of what they're looking for, or they're maybe kind of a little bit better situated life-wise, or maybe they're feeling a little bit more confident about looking for a partner. I think it's interesting that the Two of Swords leaves it open-ended. So it's basically saying like he may continue to kind of make contact and go back and forth a little bit, or he may reach out. But I feel like you're being given an opportunity to be like, okay, well, what else is out there? You don't even have to go looking for it. Like I said, the Ace of Wands is saying a relationship is coming in that should be with somebody who is decisive, grounded, committed, and they know what they want. So whether it's him coming back and he confirms to you, yes, I am ready to do these things, or you end up having a break in this relationship because the universe has other plans, they're intervening, they want you to meet someone else. It does look like you're going to have your choice. You know, Two of Swords is about kind of leaving it open-ended and there not being a defined outcome. That you may potentially want to see who this other person is that shows up so you can see, okay, you know, I'm over here waiting to see if this person decides that they're over their ex or not. And like, you know, there's somebody else who comes into my life and I can realize how quickly I can move forward with somebody who is ready, right? So I'd keep my eyes open for this other person. Because I do think that you have to see that other person to see the contrast. Because Two of Swords can be about contrast. It's like, do I want this or do I want that? Just to at least show you how much more smoothly things could go if that's something that you're open to. Okay? Good luck. Got Madison and then Bianca. Let's see, who else do I have? And then Nancy, are you still listening? Madison, Bianca, Emma. Madison says, is moving to Owasso, am I saying that right? Owasso? Oops. The best decision, and if so, is it for the reason my intuition is telling me? Okay, so let me reword that. So you want to move, you're wondering if it's the best move, and are you moving for the reason that your intuition is telling you? Okay, got it. I'm a Sag stellium, Sun, Mercury, Mars, Gemini Moon, Aqua Rising, Scorpio Venus. Thank you. You're welcome, Heba. What's up, Madison? Don't worry, Emma, I got you. All right, so let's see. So is moving the best decision? And if it is it because her intuition told her so? I would say just being somebody who's got the Sag stellium and the Aquarius rising, you know that a move is on the horizon. Jupiter, Uranus in your fourth. I mean, here's the deal. I don't think you're crazy. Okay, let's just start there. I don't think you're crazy. Queen of Swords is coming up. I do see this being a situation where you feel like you're receiving so many signs or messages from the universe that you're just like now having to accept it, acknowledge it, and vocalize like, okay, I got the message, right? Because Queen of Swords can be about the receiver, somebody who receives that message from the ethers and goes, okay, now I'm going to actually put these ideas, these thoughts into action. I'm going to nurture them. I'm also going to start being more clear and direct with people about what my intentions are. I do feel like you're also going to go about this in a way that's going to be structured. I don't think it's going to be like chaotic, saggy, getting on a plane and just like disappearing. I don't think that's how this is going to work. I do feel like this is about letting people know point blank, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm putting things in order to be able to kind of make this happen. Madison says, I got the old ball and chain, baby daddy, so I'm torn on leaving anywhere. Yeah. But the truth is that being an Aquarius rising, you know, part of the Venus retrograde right now in your 7th is about reworking the way that you do relationships and things that involve your children. The square to Jupiter and Uranus is where you can be too understanding or too lenient for certain relationships in your life that's inhibiting you from freedom at home. So what you're finding, I think, for a lot of people with this Venus retrograde is that it's bringing up and like seeding things right now so we can have more freedom come spring of 2024. Sag stellium, we like to bop around. Yeah, setting fire to our lives. I'm kind of envious like of that. I have 4 planets in Scorpio, 4 planets in Capricorn. I don't have a lot of fire. I have my moon in Aries and that's it. But yeah, I think that like, look, it's about you just getting really clear about what you want and vocalizing that and finding ways to be very much putting that in order and telling people what you need. And like, also it's like whatever's going on, it's like undeniable at this point with some of the messages that you're kind of getting, right? 4 of Cups is also reminding you that there can be like a window of opportunity. You know, 4 of Cups can be like this feeling that there's disappointment because you didn't make moves when you know that you could have or you should have, right? I say go for it, but I think it's about letting other people know what your plans are so you can execute that at some point in the next year. Good luck. Bianca. Bianca says, 1 card reading. What do I need to know about the appeal to my divorce my ex filed? Are all the Capricorn rising and suns okay? I'm hearing a lot of this from Capricorns. Okay, so you're a Pisces rising, Capricorn sun, Gemini moon. So what do you need to know about the appeal? Well, Mercury retrograde in your 7th, your ex is appealing your divorce. That could not be more literal. It's trining Jupiter and Uranus, so they're trying to find ways to maybe get you to reconsider or talk it out. You're welcome, Madison. Well, I mean, I kind of feel like the Chariot is basically saying this could go one of several ways. One, I mean, the Chariot is a card that feels chaotic in my mind. It feels a little chaotic. It's a little like, okay, this person's like, you know, running away with the situation and like, I'm trying to kind of end something and they're just like going off in a different direction. When I think of the Chariot, it's about trying to get all of the horses in line so that way you can get to the common goal like together. So if you're like, I'm out of here, I want to be able to end this, and they're like, no, let's back up the cart. Yeah, there's going to be some conflict because you've got 2 people going in 2 different directions. Like retrogrades bring reversals. So I think about you being a Pisces rising with Saturn in your 1st house going, I want to be on my own. Mercury retrograde in the 7th house is going to be about somebody returning back, trying to connect with you, and you being like, no, you don't get it. I want to be on my own. So it may mean that, yeah, you're having to go to court, he's contesting it, but you're like, no, there is nothing to reconcile here. Even if you want to give it more time, I'm not changing my mind. Remember that Saturn is retrograde in your 1st house, so you're reflecting on the time that you've taken on your own now, Now it's going to be about executing some of this and like letting people know you're done. Something that's going to work in your favor is Mars. Mars is going to go into your 9th house. You're going to have this in the fall, which can be about like, you know, really actively being able to take that action to kind of cut things out. Equally, being a Pisces rising, I'd be more focused on the fact that you're having eclipses in your 1st and your 8th house. So some of the changes can also be financially, and those resources, and the South Node eclipse in your 8th house is, do you guys have things to separate? Are they not wanting to physically let you go, right? And the Chariot card is about like getting in the car, packing up and moving on. So if you guys have already separated, now this is just the process of the divorce. It may mean that you have to show up into court and be like, look, one way or another, this is where I'm going. I'm not staying in the marriage. I'm not going to stay committed. So if you try to delay the process, I'm still going to be really adamant about getting from point A to point B. And you may find that it takes the retrograde to get that point across. You know, he may say that he, for whatever reason, wants to try to like talk about it or negotiate something or mediate something or give it more time. But I think ultimately what you're going to find is that you're still, you know, really focused on getting to your destination. And there may also be other things coming up, that it may also go hand in hand with like definitively ending it and then finally moving away. Not just moving on, moving away, having some distance, like physically. Makes some sense he doesn't want to pay. Well, you know, with North Node eclipses going through your 1st house, excuse me, your 2nd house, it's about possessions, but also it's going to be about doing things on your own. So you need to be prepared when that South Node solar eclipse happens in your 8th house. You may have the separation, but it may not, depending on other aspects in your chart, come with that financial support. North Node in Aries in the 2nd house for a Pisces rising is, okay, you want to be on your own, you're going to pay your own way. So you are going to realize throughout these transits that there is going to be much more responsibility or much more of like a focus on you providing for yourself. I'm not saying you won't get what you need. Venus retrograde, right? Venus rules your 8th house. So the retrograde right now is about the back and forth and whether or not you guys can sort this out. And Venus is retrograde in your 6th. So if he's not wanting to divorce because he doesn't want to pay, you guys are going to have to figure that out. Scorpio sun, Scorpio rising. Okay, so he's a pain in the ass. And that's the other thing is that, you know, as a Scorpio rising, Scorpio suns too, but as a Scorpio rising, there's an eclipse that's coming in his 7th house. And that should be about the definitive kind of wrapping up and the closing of the relationship. But that particular eclipse is basically saying it's supposed to be ushering in other relationship opportunities. So he could look at it and go, well, can we make things work? Could we come together? Jupiter rules that, Jupiter is conjunct that eclipse at the end of October, and it's the ruler of the 5th house. So if you guys have kids, that could be a lot more difficult, a separation. But if you guys don't have kids, then it's probably about him being like, she wants to end it, I don't want to end it, I'm still in love with her, and the eclipse could definitely be that. So look at what he's got in Scorpio, because that eclipse is going to be, I think, around 5 degrees, around 5 degrees. Right? But you're moving on, So it's about kind of letting him know he can go with the program or not, but that's still going to be the same end result. I'm a Scorpio sun. I can say that stuff. Scorpio sun, Scorpio rising. That's somebody who's very resistant to change. Good luck. Emma got in there. All right, so let's take a look. Emma, what was your question? Did you let me know your question, Emma? Shoot me a message, let me know. And Nancy, have kids, yeah, then that's going to be the challenging aspect of that. That separation is the eclipse because it involves Jupiter. Specifically, the 7th house is your 2nd child, so you might want to watch because the 2nd born could be the one that's having some challenges with this. Good luck. Emma says, 3-card reading. I'm a Gemini sun and moon with a Taurus rising. I want to ask about direction in career and what to look out for with film photography and working with new clients. Okay. I love that for you. If you have all that Gemini in the 12th house, you're really great with like photography and storytelling and behind the scenes and all that stuff. Next year should be a good year for that. Jupiter going in there. Lots more opportunity for creative collaborations. Let's take a look. So Emma, this card is for you. What direction to go with your career, what to look out for? Well, I like with the Seven of Wands that it's talking about like holding your position on top and being able to be like, no, this is what I'm doing, or, you know, taking recognition for what you're able to actually create or produce, standing up and being like, this is mine. This is also about being competitive, which is not generally something that you see a lot of in the 12th house because it can be more of a passive energy. But I think with the sun and the moon being there, you're really focused on like making your ideas a reality. And I think it's going to be about sharing some of this with other people and not willing to like back down on some of the ideas or the projects that you're potentially working on. I do feel like this is about overcoming some things as well, right? So, you know, being somebody who has the Taurus rising, Pluto moving into your whole sign, 10th, you know, eclipses in your first house. You know, you've had also some eclipses that have been kind of slightly dipping into your 6th house. So there's probably been a lot of change in where you're working, how you're working, the types of people you're working with. And now that planets are moving into your 12th house here, you're seeing some stuff in this next year. You're able to work more abroad, or you're maybe able to work more in private or with like private studios. And I think of like the retrograde right now in the 3rd house can be about you reevaluating like what to write, how to communicate what you think. So I'm wondering, like, is it about you taking stock of like what you have and trying to figure out like what you actually pick up and run with, who you can potentially collaborate with, and like not taking no for an answer, not backing down. But this is about standing your ground and being competitive. And I think that if you have something that you feel like you have to really fight for to get through, to sell, to create, but also it's about getting recognition where recognition is due and like not taking no for an answer. That's more or less what kind of comes with this particular card. You may feel like a lot of what you've been working on is challenging, that you've been like having to kind of push through some adversity and like find your way to the top. But ultimately, this is a card that's about having a strong upper hand and like a vantage point. And so I think that can be about if you're writing something, you have some creative control and you're not just somebody who's filming it, but maybe you're going to be directing it, or you're going to get some kind of writer's or director's credit. So that way you have control over how what's actually being put out, you know, comes across. So watch for that. But there's definitely a very competitive period that's coming where you're having to kind of push hard to see something come to fruition. And working with new clients, you may also feel that you're like, I'm working with them and I'm like, okay, you know, I have to keep reconnecting with them and like following back up with them and like pushing them. But ultimately, when the 8 of Wands pops up, which would be the next card, suddenly something goes through. So it's like all the pushing, all the hard work, all the connecting actually pays off. And then all of a sudden there's like a green light, right? Hopefully that's helpful for you. Let's do Nancy. I wonder if Nancy watched all the way through. Because I know you're still working. Emma says, amazing, I'm stubborn, I'll make it happen. Spoken like a true Taurus rising. Good luck. Okay, so Nancy was asking a question about Justin. She said, is Justin a good choice for a partner? Is Justin a good choice for a partner? You go, Nancy. One, two, three. In this order. There we go. Let me flip this around. 5 of Cups, 9 of Cups, 6 of Wands. Well, that's a funky energy. This feels like a lot of having to work through something, having to push through something, huh? Okay, so 5 of Cups. Challenges, grievances, disappointments, feeling disconnected, not knowing how to move forward, wondering what's the problem, what's the hang up, why are we not connecting? Are you ready? Are you grieving? Are you mourning something? Could be them as well, by the way. Sometimes when this card comes up, you can be dealing with somebody who doesn't see a good thing that's in front of them. And you may have some concerns that's like, are they actually really ready? Are they going to make me happy? Are they going to give me what I need? Right? That can definitely be like a concern that can be popping up. Then you've got the Nine of Swords. So the Nine of Swords can be talking about stress, anxiety, worrying about whether or not they're going to come through or something is going to work out, or if you guys are going to be able to be on the same page. Going through periods of time where you're feeling like they're not giving you clarity, they're not telling you how they're feeling, they're leaving you in the dark. I'm wondering if you're like kind of not that you're not talking, but if you're like on a bit of like a pause. So I wonder if that's going on right now. I wonder if you're feeling like you're going through like a period of time where there was just like a little bit of like lack of communication or clarity, and it's leaving you wondering and also noticing the difference in the connection that you're having with this person. This can also be about losing sleep over situations that you have no control over. So it might be also the card's way of saying like, look, there's nothing that you can really do about this right now. Let them go through their thing. They'll be back. You'll be able to connect with them. And then the final card that you get is the Six of Wands, which is about being victorious, being well received, being able to connect, it being a warm connection. Knight of Swords as the confirmation card. So this can also be saying for you that this could potentially be a situation where he's like, I'm sorry that I haven't been around. I want to see you. This is what's been going on. This is why you haven't heard from me. You know, how are you doing? When can we get together? When can we connect? So I kind of feel intuitively that part of what's going on is he's not communicating very well with you what's going on with his life. You know, sometimes when the Five of Cups comes up, somebody's going through a period where they're questioning, you know, whether or not they're good enough for the other person, whether or not they're ready for a relationship, if they're willing to, you know, potentially put themselves out there and get hurt again or not. Do you know anything about the fact that maybe he's been like grieving or going through some stuff where he's not feeling as like ready or capable of being vulnerable? That's what I would wonder. But I do think it looks to me like, you know, over the next couple of weeks, Six of Wands can be about 6 weeks, you could have a situation where you're going back and forth and he says, hey, I really want to see you, like, let's connect. And then once you're in person, he might address some of these issues and why he's been a little distant and kind of let you know that, you know, he's looking forward to seeing you and kind of fill you in on what's been happening. I would take note though with the Five of Cups and the Nine of Swords, if he goes through periods of highs and lows and like he's really hot and cold, if it's something that you need to address with him and be like, do you have something going on that's affecting you that I don't know about? Like, can we talk about it? So I'm not taking it personally and feeling like that you're going back and forth with me. That's my advice personally. Okay. And allow him also to take the lead, because the Knight of Swords is about somebody, you know, making moves and doing what they need to do to potentially let you know that they're like in it, right? I do not want to forget, and I will, can we make a note of this time code? Because I want to save this for Catherine Murray, because I know I owe her a monthly reading. Catherine, I did not forget about you. And then I think we're finished. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. Taria, are you here? Are you here? All right, so this is for Catherine Murray. Catherine, I hope you're doing well. I know you're a Leo rising, Scorpio sun. I'm going to pull 3 cards, give you a general reading, let you know what I see for you. In this order, King of Cups, King of Wands, Ace of Pentacles. Well, my dear, first of all, Ace of Pentacles coming up. Yeah, it's good for money, but this can also be like health related. Okay, and so I know the Venus retrograde for you can be about getting back on your feet, feeling better, physically capable of working, being able to make money. We've got King of Cups and King of Wands going on. So I'm wondering, is this about you getting things back on track emotionally? King of Cups, it can be about a connection that you have to a potential relationship, a water sign. It can be you as a Scorpio though, kind of really mastering your emotions and taking better care of yourself. The King of Cups can also talk about some kind of connection that you have to somebody that you're really focusing on nourishing that potential romantic or emotional connection. Then you've got the King of Wands coming up. So this is about more like a fire sign, like a Sag or a Leo or an Aries. This talks about collaboration, particularly creatively, or this can involve like work-related things, right? So I'm wondering, like, are you going back and forth, nurturing a relationship with like a collaboration with somebody? Is this about you really focusing on, you know, working on your emotions right now and taking better care of yourself so you feel like you can be more physically capable and active, so you can be getting back on track with like working and also your physical health and like resources? So much of the retrograde on your ascendant is about being like, how can I better fill my own cup, King of Cups, and focus on what I need, so that way I can also start letting other people know where I stand, and I can be bringing the right kinds of clients, relationships, and people in. There can be two people coming up right now. So it can be two clients, two collaborations, two relationships. What's interesting is the Ace of Pentacles in the final position is saying that there are people coming in who want to help you. This can be financial opportunities, new work opportunities, contracts, negotiations, jobs. This can also be about people who are bringing you some kind of physical support, bringing you food, bringing you resources, saying, hey, what can I do to help you? This is what I have to offer. Generally, this is something that also will be taking place all month long. And so I love Venus retrograde in your rising sign, because this is about people coming in and saying, hey, how can I help you get back on your feet? What is it going to take to kind of get you in better working order? You know, how can we help support you so you can get back out there and make some of the change, which I think is going to be really positive for you, especially come about October, November, when you really start to see the positive physical effects. Financially, right? The Mercury retrograde too, going retrograde in and out of your second house. So that can be about a change in direction of what's going on with your resources, your self-esteem, your security, your finances. And so if you've been going through a period where you feel like you've had less, retrogrades can bring a reversal of that. It can actually bring you more, right? So that's something I would think about. And it can also be an indication that more positive changes with health is on the way. Confirmation you get is the Ace of Wands. So that is going to be about new energy, new work. You may have somebody who's just like they're encouraging you. I like the Ace of Wands with the King of Wands. I feel like this is somebody who's coming in and kind of like lighting, you know, a fire underneath you, being like, okay, come on, let's get this going. So they can be motivating you to actually want to get active and start creating and doing things together, whether that's working on your health and getting you kind of up and at it again, or, you know, somebody who's inspiring you to want to be more active when it comes to connecting and being able to work again. So I'm wondering how this is going to play out for you. Let me know. Thank you for being a level 3 subscriber. I appreciate it. To those of you guys who are still watching, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up if you have not already liked this stream. I appreciate it. It definitely helps with the algorithm. We're going to be back next week. We'll be doing astrology next Friday. So you can catch me here every Friday for the most part, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. You guys can sign up early in the queue if you want. Make sure you check that community tab. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you click the bell button below so you're subscribed as to when I have new videos coming out on the channel. Sunday, we're doing Astro Weather. We're going to talk all about Mars going into Libra, what it means for us collectively, and also Mercury's going retrograde. So if you guys are not already aware of that, check out my Mercury in Virgo or my Mercury retrograde videos so you know where to catch the cosmic goodies, because Mercury's going to trine Jupiter a couple times. Thanks for spending your Friday night with me. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. I will see all of you guys back here bright and early on Sunday. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care.